This afternoon, I stand here to address the topic: there should be equal legal repercussions for both men and women accused of domestic violence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back to November 3rd last year. The news of a prison officer fatally attacking his ex-girlfriend using a gasoline cylinder took the media by storm. People were in shock, outraged, in tears even when they heard of this story. The woman did not stand a chance. There was no way she could have defended herself against a man capable of lifting a gasoline cylinder and assaulting her with it. But this story is just one among many others where women are victims of domestic abuse from men who are twice their size and stature. The legal repercussions for both men and women accused of domestic violence should not be equal because the severity of the abuse and the circumstances are not equal to both men and women. Let me begin by defining two key terms in the topic. These terms are domestic violence and equal. As defined by the Google Dictionary, domestic violence is violent or aggressive behavior within the home, typically involving the violent abuse of a spouse or partner, while equal is defined as being the same in quantity, size, degree, or value. With these being established, let me get into the meat of my argument. I will begin our opposition of the topic by elaborating on how women and men are not equal, the value of equity over equality, and why the more common perpetrators deserve harsher punishments. My partner will further strengthen our opposition by presenting the legal and societal dynamics as it refers to domestic violence and gender equality. First of all, we can all agree that biologically, men and women are not the same. While we are all of the same species, it has been scientifically shown that men are much physically stronger than women. According to an article posted on Psychology Today entitled "Battle of the Sexes," women on average have less total muscle mass. Men also have denser, stronger bones, tendons, and ligaments. The same article mentions that men are prone to aggression because of their high levels of testosterone, which has been linked to violent behavior. Even in the Olympic Games, men and women compete separately because men have a physical advantage over women. With all that being said, it is clear to see that women and men are not physically equal and are therefore not capable of the same degree of abuse. Now, I know it is tempting to argue that the same punishment should be delegated to the same crime. But can this really be applied in this situation? Is it really the same crime? Is a woman really capable of physically abusing a man to the same degree that he can do to her? My worthy opponents, can you honestly say an assault to the chest area of a man is equal to the assault of a chest area of a woman? Further, the severity of the abuse is never the same for both genders. An article on the refuge.org on domestic violence and gender states, the intensity and severity of violence used by men is more extreme. The article also states that women are 4 times as likely to experience potentially lethal violence and 5 times as likely to report that they feared for their lives. It is even more difficult to argue the equality of the abuse inflicted when you consider the fact that women are child carriers. Yes, it is possible to harm a man's fertility by assaulting him, but imagine the possibility of harming an unborn child by assaulting a pregnant woman. God forbid the assault be severe enough to end the child's life. My worthy opponents, let's be serious here. Can we really equate the physical abuse of men and women when there's a possibility of murder by miscarriage on the line in a woman's case? How then can we seek to afford them the same punishments? Madam Moderator, I'm sure you can see why it is obvious that men deserve harsher punishments. Furthermore, there is a big difference between equality and equity. According to the online Oxford Dictionary, equality is a condition or state of being the same in number, amount, degree, rank, or quality, whereas equity is defined as the quality of being fair and impartial. In other words, equality would mean giving each person the same quantity regardless of their needs or the uniqueness of their situation, while equity is being fair to each person's situation and giving based on what each person requires. Don't you think that in order to bring justice to all as it is needed, it would make more sense for legal repercussions to be equitable and not equal. Imagine a judge jailing a bank robber 5 years and giving the same sentence to a vagrant who stole a piece of cheese. Yes, the crimes both fall under the same category, but the severity of the crimes were different. Robbing a bank is a premeditated move, which causes quite a magnitude of loss and emotional duress if it is successful. You can hardly call a vagrant stealing a piece of cheese on an impulse of hunger equal to a crime like that. But that is in essence what we would be doing by making the legal repercussions against domestic violence equal for men and women. Just like in the case of the bank robber and the vagrant, the motive and severity of the act are very much different among men and women. In this patriarchal society where men are the head of the households, men are abusive towards strong-headed women to control them because they know that they are physically stronger. Allow me to share with you an excerpt from an article on Quora.com on why some men beat their women. It says, and I quote, "Some men aggressively try to control their women to keep them from leaving and to try to make them do whatever they want. Most times when women physically attack men, it comes from a deep place of pain and anger and sometimes a need to defend themselves. In fact, according to an article on the BuzzFeed.com, when researchers commissioned by the No More Anti-Domestic Violence campaign asked women aged 15 to 22 why they lashed out against their spouses, almost 60% of them said that their partner had hit them first. We cannot place a woman in jail for the same amount of time or ask her to pay the same fine as the man who beat her black and blue for simply trying to defend herself against him. Equality in this situation is far from fair. Instead, honorable judges, my colleague and I propose equity as it relates to legal repercussions for domestic violence and not equality. In order to promote fairness and justice, men deserve harsher punishments. Lastly, harsher penalties are needed to dissuade the more common offenders from the crime. It is unarguable that men are more prone to violence than women. I need not repeat the fact that they are physically stronger and driven to aggression by testosterone. In our society, men feel like they have a God-given right to do whatever they want to women. So much so that Honorable Rayburn Blackmore felt the need to speak out in defense of women in light of the response from his colleagues in Parliament to the marital rape clause. According to an article on Dominica News Online, Blackmore went on to say that a number of individuals have misconstrued certain elements and teachings of the Bible and are using them as a means to justify something that is morally and legally wrong. The mere fact that he was one of the very few who felt that way speaks volumes of the mindset of many of our men in society today. Men feel like they are entitled to take advantage of women, and they act on that privilege very often. Even as it currently stands here in Dominica, where the legal repercussions are the same for both parties, this arrangement is still to the man's benefit. A man can abuse his wife and feel confident in knowing that if she defended herself, she would receive the same punishment as him even after suffering countless bouts of abuse. This further discourages women from reporting these incidents for fear of the man lying or exaggerating a situation in court and causing her to fall victim to the same punishment for a lesser or non-existent crime. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence is one of the most chronically underreported crimes. For the small number of cases that do get reported, on average, a woman will be assaulted 35 times before reporting it. Madam Moderator, when men are ever physically abused by women, more harm is done to their egos than anything else. Further, a man does not need the law to defend himself against a woman. He is physically capable of defending himself. While we are in no way promoting settling matters using violence, the same is hardly ever true for women who in most cases are completely helpless without the use of the law. To conclude, let me reiterate, the legal repercussions for men and women accused of domestic violence should not be equal because men and women are not biologically equal and are not capable of the same degree of abuse. Equity is more justifiable than equality in these situations, and higher repercussions are needed to dissuade the more common perpetrators. Now, my worthy opponents, my partner and I are in no way condoning domestic violence of any kind. We are simply saying that in terms of legal repercussions, men deserve harsher punishments. Madam Moderator, I rest my case.